If we look at a statement that has just recently been made by government, I'd like you to comment on that particular statement. It's a one comment and we'll explore it bit by bit as we go along. Government said that business, private business, is not doing enough to enhance black empowerment at high level within business. You say nonsense. I do not agree with that.
Absolutely not. I'm very involved with the business community here in the Cape, exceptionally so in the sense that not only do I represent many of the businesses as an attorney, I represent their staff as well. I'm a labour lawyer. I know their recruitment policies. I understand very, very well what business wants to do in terms of the functioning of their staff. And I also understand that business heavily support the recruitment policies under the employment equity legislation. They do. They understand that not only is it good for their business, it's good for the country, and it's good for their future. The bottom line is, businesses can't recruit people that don't exist. That's the bottom line, and I can explain that, and we've tried to explain this to government. First of all, our education system is failing us wholly. People are not coming through the system with the correct degrees. People are not coming through the system with the correct know-how. People aren't getting any proper training at all. That's the first problem. The second problem, government is looking at employment equity on the basis of black, not coloured. And there's a case running right now as we speak down at the Labour Court where the Department of Correctional Services are saying that coloured people don't qualify for promotion because they only want the black people. They're telling the coloured people to go and apply for jobs up in Gauteng, and they are shipping black people down to take their higher jobs in the Department of Correctional Services.
Isn't that discrimination against?
Of course it is, and they're going to run the case. I know I wrote the first opinion for the officers from the Correctional Services, and my opinion was that's discrimination in line with the equity legislation. It's breaking the equity legislation.
Apart from the Constitution,
Correct.
Of course.
I can tell you other anecdotal proof that business is doing the right thing. Every single day when you open a newspaper, any newspaper, and you open the newspaper and you look at the back and you see the jobs on offer. There are hundreds of jobs on offer. Those jobs outline specific qualifications needed to go into the job. So I would like to recruit 25 black auditors. I put that advert in the newspaper. One applies. There's one black auditor that applies. I've just been through this exercise now with a client that's an auditing firm. They get 115 applications from coloured people, white people, and Chinese people. Now they've got to fill the positions. They then fill the positions with coloured, Chinese, and white. They take the black guy on. Then the government shouts and says, that business, you're an international auditing firm, you're not appointing enough black people. They then try and say, but hold on, we didn't get applications. They aren't there. They'll say, well, you need to do something about it. They'll say, well, we'll give bursaries to black people who want to study. And they are doing it. It takes time. We're a young country. We are, in fact, still teenagers. We're 19 this year. We've just turned 19. So we're still teenagers, and yes, we're moving through those ranks. But I'll take you through another exercise where another person comes to me who's also a recruitment specialist, and he acts on behalf of a company that needs people that have computer skills and that can speak German, French, and Spanish. They run an international gambling license bureau. And they come to me and they say, well, we need to recruit. Now, are you going to find a black person who's got a computer science degree who can speak German? Where are you going to find him? You're going to find him in Germany. You're going to find him in Spain. You're not going to find him here. So we then write to the department and we say we need to have an import. We need to import these people. We need permits, work permits for these people to work here. For every one of those people that we employ, we can then have 7 other jobs, because that's what it was equivalent to assist that person. Give us the permit. And they say, no, you must find black South Africans to do it. And we try and explain, and I've been down to the department myself, and I try and explain to an inspector there that if you can find me a computer scientist who can speak Spanish, who happens to be black and South African, because you won't accept a black if he's from somewhere else, that you don't qualify in terms of employment equity legislation, find him in Joburg. I'll pay for him to come down, I'll pay for his family to come down, and I'll give him a salary that he's never dreamed of. But find him for me, give him to me, and we'll have him. And of course, after months of that debate, they eventually said, right, they haven't got that. We then have the employment equity report that is then delivered by our Minister of Labour, and bless her cotton socks, she then says the companies aren't doing their thing to promote people into those positions. Now, I try and explain to the politicians who I'm now having this debate with that it's all very well, yes, saying we need to promote people into those positions, but let me give you an example, and I actually did this, I went through this exercise with one of the politicians, and I said, you bring some friends down to Cape Town, and they're tourists, and they're going to go on a helicopter flip of Cape Town. Beautiful helicopter flip of Cape Town. We're very proud of Cape Town, and you're going to all get into a helicopter, and we're going to fly you over Table Mountain, around Robben Island, and then bring you back to the waterfront, and that's a famous tour. We'd like you to choose which pilot you're going to use. Now, you South African, we all support employment equity. We've got one pilot that's got 4 months training as a helicopter pilot, and we've got another one that's been 20 years, and unfortunately the one that's 20 years is white, and the one that we're now trying to train up is black. Now you choose, you've got your family in the helicopter, you choose which one you're going to take.
That's racist, though, isn't it?
Yes,
Michael?
of course it is, and that's why I said we've got to be practical as well. It is racist, because I'm saying to you that inevitably you're going to choose the white guy because he's got the training. And I understand, because of the history, that he happened to come from a family that loved maths. He was a well-heeled kid. He was part of the Lucky Sperm Club. He was brought up in a wealthy family. He unfortunately went through school learning maths. He went to university and did a BSc in mathematics. He became the helicopter pilot. He was a lucky kid. The black kid, his counterpart at the same time. Unfortunately, the family had no money. The parents were downtrodden because of apartheid, but he didn't get the training.
How much can you blame apartheid?
We can. Still, after 19 years, we can. And as a business community, we acknowledge that. We acknowledge that apartheid still has a part to play in what is happening right today.
Do you feel we should be talking about the sunset clauses yet?
Yes, we should, but not yet. We should be, and the sunset is sunset. In other words, the sun is merely rising. As I said, we're teenagers. I have a son. My son was a lucky kid. I was lucky because I was brought up by parents who sent me to university, made me go and study. I hated it, but it made me go off and go and study. And I managed to become an attorney afterwards. I can promise you, if I was a black kid, I wouldn't have been able to be.
How do you satisfy a youth that's there, it gets further and further out of the employment chain, it gets thoroughly disenchanted,
Well,
it has no help from any quarter, all it hears are excuses. How the dickens are we going to get out of this situation?
Well, I think there are a lot of ways in which you can do it. I'm not a social engineer, so I don't really know, but I can tell you from a business point of view, the first idea that was mooted by Trevor Manuel in our parliament was to give the youth a pull-up. In other words, let them pull them up by their own bootstraps. Say to businesses, for every youngster that you employ and create a job, we will give you a tax break. Simple. I promise you, lots of businesses will come around and say it. I mean, if you said to me that I want you to employ 20 youngsters, I want you to train them in law, and I'll pay you by giving you a tax break for these 20 youngsters, I promise you I'll take in 20 people, I'll squeeze them in.
So why don't they do it?
Well, I don't understand it, but the problem that we've got in this country is that we've got a tripartite alliance. The politics is fraught with difficulties. COSATU is protecting the few in jobs. They're asking for higher and higher wages, and if they say, hold on a minute, if you're going to give a man a tax break to employ 10 youngsters, the older man might lose his job because he's earning 40,000 Rand a month. I can take in 10 people at 4,000 Rand a month, and I can get a tax break of it, and I can train them, but the older man is going to lose his job, but he's our member.
So it's damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Absolutely. So what we need is we need more forward thinkers like Trevor Manuel. We need to understand the politics of the world.
Why is it that we allow so many of our black youth to go and study degrees that will never be of any use to this country whatsoever?
I can answer that question quite simply. We're living in quite a free country. If you want to go and study art and how to make paper mache horses, you're free to do it. Unfortunately, our system isn't like and I've got to pick on this country, the Cuban system, where the students get all sorts of benefits if you study science, maths and biology in Cuba. Now, I'm not a great lover of Cuba at all. I hate it because of the communism, but at least their education system is still one of the best in the world. And why? Because they understand that young Michael wouldn't really dig going into university down the road here at UCT to go and study maths. That's not exactly exciting. It's not going to make me sexy in any way. I don't, at the age of 19, think this is a good idea. So what am I going to study? I'm going to study sociology because the lecturer happens to be pretty, or I'm going to study political science like I did because it really interests me. But what am I going to do? What am I going to do with a sociology, political science, and a paper mache making degree? I've got a sister who's doing a doctorate at the moment through the University of Stellenbosch, and she's studying the feminine influence on Chagall's art. And she's doing a doctorate on it. It's now in her 12th year. She's done 2 masters and she's doing a doctorate on it. Why the country allows someone to study that, I said to her, the mind boggles, because this is not going to add any value to South Africa at all.
Why can't we, together with business and government, do a joint exercise of creating a land force where people could go to a little academy, spend 1 year there, not the army?
It's been proposed by business that we start bringing back all sorts of education, all sorts of skills. COSATU stopped it. COSATU put an end to it.
But why do you need COSATU to agree to it?
Because ANC will not move without its alliance partners.
So then why doesn't business take the first leap of faith?
Well, it's very difficult. How do you do it? Where do you fighting legislation? You're fighting 11 pieces of labour legislation that we've got in this country.
So if Michael Bagraim, who's a philanthropist in the world, he helps a poor sick old doctor out of the United Arab Emirates, can't start and take 1 foot forward and get a lot of his business associates or his clients together and say, come on, let's us show government it can be done, even if it's with 20 or 30 youngsters from a township.
Yeah, I've got 2 problems. First of all, it's the legislation. I can't say to the youngsters from the township, I need you to come and work. I can take 20 of you and I'll pay you 1,000 rand each and I'll pay your transport. I get immediate takers. There's a minimum wage. There's minimum terms and conditions. I'll have to register them with bargaining councils. I've got all sorts of legislation standing in my way and I can't do it. I had a man yesterday phone me. I run a labour law practice. A man phoned me yesterday. He's got an exhaust fitting business in Khayelitsha. Lovely business. People come to him from all around the township. They've got cars or motorbikes or whatever they've got. He then gets old exhausts, fixes them up, powders them over and makes them look nice and shiny, and he sticks them on cars. Got a good business and he employs 4 people. His 4 neighbours, he's employed them, he's got his shack, people come in and he's starting to make money. He gets hold of me and I say, why are you phoning me? He says, you know what, an inspector arrived from the Motor Industry Bargaining Council and said to me that you're not paying your people the minimum wage, you're not paying for their duties, their stamps, their union dues, all sorts of rubbish. I said to him, listen, I know, and his name's Sipo, I know you are earning a living and I know that you're making sure that 4 of your mates and their families are living well. He said, yes. He says, now they tell me I owe them, it was about 30,000 rand. So I said to him, you want to know advice from me, and I'm happy to say this to you now. My advice to you is close down your shack, move, and run your business somewhere else. An inspector will take another year to find you. He said, cool idea, and that's what he's done. So today he's moved his shack. They're never going to find him again, and that's the end of it.
Michael, final thing, is there hope, though, in this employment market?
Yeah, absolutely. I think South Africans are resilient. We've been through this before. We're going to do it again. I don't see the business communities throwing their keys down on the floor and say, I can't run this business.
Despite government.
Despite government, I see the business community growing. We've managed to keep our head above water. Europe almost collapsed in 2008. South Africa didn't go down as far as that. Business community looking for ways and means to exist, to survive, and to thrive. And I think the South Africans will do it. And we'll do it hand in hand across the colour bar. That's not going to be the issue. The issue is going to be how far can we push COSATU away from the ANC. That's going to be the next battle. That's the next battle, and we've got to push on that. We must fight COSATU. Don't fight the wrong party.